Assalamu alaikum dear students, I am Anjum Shafiq, your biology teacher for grade 10, and today I am going to discuss the exercise of chapter number 15. So let's start. Multiple choice questions. So here we have the first multiple choice question. An organism expressed physical traits such as seed color or pod shape is called. तो dear students, किसी भी ऑर्गेनिज्म के जो फिजिकल ट्रेट्स का एक्सप्रेशन होता है मींस जीनोटाइप का एक्सप्रेशन जो अगली ऑफस्प्रिंग में होता है उसे क्या कहते हैं. सो होपफुली आपको याद आ गया होगा. सो अल्फा ऑप्शन इज जीनोटाइप. नो डियर स्टूडेंट्स, द एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ फिजिकल ट्रेट्स दैट इज बीटा ऑप्शन, इट सेज फिनोटाइप. सो दैट इज द करेक्ट ऑप्शन फॉर दिस क्वेश्चन. So karyotype is not the correct answer, physical type is not the correct option. The answer for this question is beta option, that is phenotype. Let's move to another question. An organism has two different alleles for a single trait. Its genotype is said to be. So dear students, हमने बात की थी जीनोटाइप की, उसकी दो टाइप्स बात की थी, हेट्रोजाइगस एंड होमोजाइगस. अगर डिफरेंट अलील होंगे तो उसे हम हेट्रोजाइगस कहेंगे और अगर एक जैसे अलील्स होंगे किसी जीनोटाइप के अंदर तो वो होमोजाइगस कहलाता है. सो आवर क्वेश्चन इज टू डिफरेंट अलील्स फॉर अ सिंगल ट्रेट. सो द आंसर विल बी बीटा ऑप्शन, दैट सेज हेट्रोजाइगस जीनोटाइप. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज in the cross pollination between a true breeding yellow pod plant and a true breeding green pod plant, where the green pod color is dominant, the resulting offsprings means F1 generation will be. तो dear students, आपको ये फार्मूला याद होगा, मैंने डिटेल के साथ समझाया था. जब कभी दो ट्रू ब्रीडिंग प्लांट्स को आपस में हम ब्रीड करवाते हैं, एक जिसमें एक डोमिनेंट हो और दूसरा रिसेसिव हो, तो ऐसी कंडीशन में डियर स्टूडेंट्स जब भी हेट्रोजाइगस कंडीशन होगी तो उसमें हमेशा F1 जनरेशन में डोमिनेंट ही एक्सप्रेस होगा. तो चूंकि इसमें डोमिनेंट जो ट्रेट है दैट इज ग्रीन, सो द करेक्ट ऑप्शन फॉर दिस क्वेश्चन विल बी डेल्टा ऑप्शन, इट सेज ऑल ग्रीन ऑफस्प्रिंग्स. क्लियर? नाउ हियर वी हैव अनदर MCQ. How many genetically different kinds of gametes an individual with a genotype AA, BB can produce? तो dear students, यहाँ पर हमारे पास ये एक सिचुएशन है जब हमने डिस्कस की थी डाई हाइब्रिड क्रॉस के अंदर. सो डाई हाइब्रिड क्रॉस में ये क्वेश्चन आप वहाँ से रिवाइज करेंगे. सो हमारे पास यहाँ पर है कैपिटल A and small b. That is the genotype. So how many genetically different kinds of gametes an individual with a genotype AA and BB can produce? Yes, my dear students. So definitely, so you have guessed. So the delta option says 8. No, my dear students, that is not correct. Option Charlie says 4. So that is not also correct. Option beta says 2. So dear students, as this is a homozygous condition and two different traits have been combined in a same cross, so the correct option will be beta option, that is 2. Here is another question. So which of the following statement regarding the genes is false? Genes are located on chromosomes. It is correct. Gene consists of a long sequence of DNA. That is also correct. Charlie option says a gene contains information for the production of protein. Yes, my dear students, that is also correct. Each cell contains a single copy of every gene. So no, my dear students, each cell contains 2 copies of every gene. So that is the false statement about the genes. Now let's move to another question. Mendel's primary contribution to our understanding of inheritance was. मेंडल की जो लॉस है वो हमें किस चीज़ की अंडरस्टैंडिंग देते हैं? द आइडिया दैट जीन्स आर फाउंड ऑन क्रोमोसोम्स. नो. ऑप्शन बीटा सेज explanation of the patterns of inheritance. Yes, dear students, that is the correct answer for this question, because Mendel's law of segregation and Mendel's law of independent assortments explains us about the patterns of inheritance. How do the different traits inherit? Let's have another question. A purple flower pea plant has the genotype capital P capital P. Which of the following statement about this point or plant is false? हमारे पास एक फ्लावर है पर्पल कलर फ्लावर पी प्लांट दैट इज डोमिनेंट सो इट्स कंसिस्ट ऑफ capital P so capital determines the dominant trait. So which statement about this plant is false? Its phenotype will be white flowers. तो dear students ये पॉसिबल ही नहीं है क्योंकि जो डोमिनेंट है सो डोमिनेंट हमेशा एक्सप्रेस होगा, चाहे वो हेट्रोजाइगस कंडीशन हो चाहे वो होमोजाइगस कंडीशन हो, दोनों कंडीशंस में हमेशा जो जीन्स एक्सप्रेस होंगे मीन्स जो फिनोटाइप होगी उसमें पर्पल कलर फ्लावर ही होंगे. सो ऑप्शन अल्फा इज नॉट करेक्ट रिगार्डिंग दिस स्टेटमेंट. सो द करेक्ट आंसर फॉर दिस क्वेश्चन इज अल्फा. Its phenotype will be white flowers. Let's move to another question. It says, Charles Darwin proposed that organisms produce many more offsprings than can possibly survive on the limited amount of resources available to them. So according to Darwin, the offsprings that are most likely to survive are those. So according to Darwin, कौन सी ऐसी ऑर्गेनिजम्स कौन सी ऐसी ऑफस्प्रिंग्स हैं जो कि ज़्यादा सर्वाइव करने के चांस रखते हैं? सो आर बॉर्न फर्स्ट एंड ग्रो फास्टेस्ट? नो, दैट वाज नॉट द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ डार्विन. बीट ऑप्शन इज आर द लार्जेस्ट एंड मोस्ट एग्रेसिव? नो डियर स्टूडेंट्स, दैट वाज आल्सो नॉट करेक्ट ऑप्शन. ऑप्शन 40 is have no natural predators, so that is also not correct answer. So the only remaining option is delta, are best adapted to the environment. So dear students, the basic ideology behind the Charles Darwin theory of inheritance and evolution was that the organisms having the best genetic makeup which can cope with the environment are the best adapted to the environment. Now here is the question. Define genotype and phenotype. So dear students, a genotype is an individual's collection of genes. The term also can refer to two alleles inherited from a particular gene. The genotype is expressed when the information encoded in the gene's DNA is used to make protein and RNA molecules. And phenotype simply refers to an observable trait. Pheno means observe and comes from the same root as the word phenomena, and so it's an observable type of an organism, and it can refer to anything from a common traits such as height or hair color to the presence or absence of a disease. Next question is, what do you mean by dominant and recessive alleles? If the alleles of a gene are different, one allele will be expressed. It is the dominant gene. The effect of other allele called the recessive is masked. That is called as the recessive gene. So here is another question. What are the homozygous and heterozygous genotypes? So now here we are talking about the genotypes, the types of genotype. So there are only two types of genotypes, homozygous and the heterozygous. In case of homozygous genotype, there are same kind of alleles, while in case of heterozygous genotype, there are different types of alleles. So we can define it as you inherit the same version of a gene from each parent, so have two matching genes or same genes. That kind of genotype is called homozygous genotype. While the heterozygous genotype, you inherit a different version of a gene from each parent, means two different alleles. Here is another question. Differentiate between natural and artificial selection. So natural selection is a process of adaptation by an organism to changing environment by bringing selective changes to its genotype or genetic composition, while The artificial selection, also called as selective breeding, is a process where humans identify desirable traits in animals and plants and use these traits to develop desirable phenotypic traits by breeding. Here we have another question. Describe the structure of chromatin. Chromatin is composed of DNA and histones that are packaged into a thin, stringy fibers. These chromatin fibers are not condensed but can exist in either a compact form, means heterochromatin, or a less compact form, means euchromatin. Processes including DNA replication, transcription, and recombination occur in the euchromatin only. Here is another question. Describe Mendel's law of segregation. So, the Mendel's law of segregation states that a diploid organism passes a randomly selected allele for a trait to its offspring, such that offspring receives one allele from each parent. Apply the law of segregation to determine the chances of particular genotype arising from a genetic cross. Here we have another question. Explain how Mendel proved the law of independent assortment. Mendel discovered this principle after performing dihybrid crosses between plants that had two traits such as seed color and pod color that differed from one another. After these plants were allowed to self-pollinate, he noticed that the same ratio of 9:3:3:1 appeared among the offspring. Now, explain the phenomena of incomplete dominance with the help of an example. So we have discussed it in detail. Incomplete dominance is a form of gene interaction in which both alleles of a gene at a locus are partially expressed, often resulting in an intermediate or different phenotype. It is also known as partial dominance. For example, in roses, the allele for red color is dominant over the allele for white color. Here is another question. What do you mean by codominance? Given an example. So we have discussed codominance in detail. So we can define it as the codominance means that neither allele can mask the expression of the other allele. An example in humans would be the ABO blood group where the allele A and B are both expressed. So blood group AB is an example of a codominance in ABO blood group system. So dear students, hopefully आज की एक्सरसाइज भी आपको क्लैरिफाई होगी। मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में नए चैप्टर के साथ। तब तक अपना ख्याल रखिएगा। अल्लाह हाफिज़।